do it. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our regularly scheduled City Commission meeting for Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have a call for attendance, please?
Commissioner Pruitt,
Here.
Commissioner Witt,
Here.
Commissioner Vowles,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas,
Here.
Mayor Staten.
Here. We have a couple of things on our presentations portion of the agenda. If you have a copy of the agenda, we're going to do things a little out of order from what they appear. The first thing on our agenda is we have a new police chief that we need to get sworn in to the city of Henderson. And so if I could ask Billy Boland to join me up here by the city seal, then we will take care of that part. One thing I'm going to warn you about before we get started is if I say state your name, do not repeat that part, but insert your name where that goes. And I'm actually, so usually all of our swearing-in ceremonies take place at the department. And so this is the first one I can remember that actually takes place at a city commission meeting. So when we have them at the department, usually I'll explain a little bit about the language. So some of the language that we're using is quite historical in our swearing-in ceremony. And it's not necessarily as applicable today as it used to be maybe 100, 150 years ago. However, you're going to be repeating the words that thousands and thousands of men and women who have been in law enforcement in Kentucky have been repeating for years. And so there's some kind of dignity and honor about doing that. And so if you would, please raise your right hand and repeat after me except for that one thing that we discussed. I state your name.
Billy Boland.
Great job. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and be faithful and true
and be faithful and true
to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
and that I will faithfully execute,
and that I will faithfully execute,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
the office of police officer
the office of police officer
of the city of Henderson
of the city of Henderson,
according to law.
according to law.
And I do further solemnly swear
And I do further solemnly swear
that since the adoption
that since the adoption
of the present Constitution,
of the present Constitution,
I have not fought a duel
I have not fought a duel
with deadly weapons
with deadly weapons
within this state,
within this state,
nor out of it.
nor out of it.
Nor have I sent or accepted a challenge
Nor have I sent or accepted a challenge
to fight a duel
to fight a duel
with deadly weapons.
with deadly weapons.
Nor have I acted as a second
Nor have I acted as a second
in carrying a challenge,
in carrying a challenge,
nor aided or assisted
nor aided or assisted
any person thus offending,
any person thus offending,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Please remain where you are and keep your right hand raised. Marie will read the last part.
I further solemnly swear
I further solemnly swear
that I will endeavor,
that I will endeavor,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
to detect and prosecute
to detect and prosecute
all gamblers and others
all gamblers and others
violating the laws against gaming.
violating the laws against gaming.
Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you.
You are now
Appreciate
officially sworn in.
Right here, please.
All right. And I want to say it's not every day we get to swear in a new police chief. That circumstances with your particular employment required this swearing in as part of you becoming our police chief. So we're both honored and excited about the fact that you are willing to join our police chief and lead us into the future. But also I want everyone to know who's watching how incredibly hard this man works to pass his tests, his physical challenges in order to become our police chief. I'm darn proud of him. I almost cussed. I'm darn proud of him, and thank you for coming to Henderson and being our new police chief.
And I've told these gentlemen up here, but thank you all for giving me that opportunity and trusting that I would do it, so I appreciate it. So, thank you very much.
Great.
Congrats, thank you. All right, next up, I believe we have two new employees that we would like to meet.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to introduce the newest employee to the finance department. His name is Andrew Herron. This is his second day working with the city, so he's still brand new.
Hello.
And you're still here.
Yes.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Got a lot to learn, but I'm happy to do it.
Well, welcome to the city of Henderson. We appreciate you becoming an employee, and I think actually I'm going to save some words until after Trace introduces his employee also. So if you don't mind to stay up here.
And I'd like to introduce Blake Leonard. He actually started last month, but we were unable to attend last month's commission meeting due to job duties. Blake Leonard has started with us in the Parks and Recreation Department. He is assigned to the Cemeteries Division, and he is currently caretaker and grounds maintenance worker, handling all the upkeep at Fairmont.
All right. Welcome. Well, both of you, yeah, we really appreciate having you here and enjoying the fold of the employees of the city of Henderson. I think what you're going to find is you're going to have competitive pay, really good benefits, and a wonderful team of people to work for. We have really good managers, all the way from our department heads up to our city manager, and really good ringtones.
Sorry.
But we really appreciate you all joining us, and thank you so much for coming to the city of Henderson. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. So we're Okay. So next up, if there is anyone here who would like to speak to the commission on an issue that is not on the agenda, please feel free to come up and address us at this point in time.
Tony.
Hello, I'm Tony Bullock. I live at 455 Westfield Lane here in Henderson. I've been here 68 years. Been with Henderson girls softball for about 40 or 45 years of that. This is Todd Grass. He is our commissioner at Henderson girls softball. I'm the assistant commissioner. But we just want to bring it to your attention that we're having a little issue this year, and of all things, trash. So as well as you guys know, if you come by Sand Lane, our park is packed during the week. We hold 4 or 5 tournaments through the year that, you know, it's a Saturday, Sunday, sometimes it's a Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. And now since this new trash deal is in town now, we have to empty those trash cans ourselves, the board or volunteers. If you've ever picked up a 55-gallon drum full of trash, bottles, whatever, it's a major ordeal. They wanted us to put trash bags in them. That's even worse. We've tried it, and it doesn't work. What we're asking is if you guys can help us, along with the county or whoever, if we could, right now we got 24 trash cans that we put in our park, try to keep it as clean as we can. We need about 20 of the new trash receptacles where nobody has to touch those except the garbage men. They put it up to the truck and it dumps. That way it keeps kids, it keeps old men, and everybody else from trying to put that trash barrel up into a dumpster and hurting yourself, because we've had that happen. We don't want to wish that on anybody. So
How did it, if you don't mind me asking, how did it work before the new trash system? What did you all
we
do?
pulled all the cans up to the concrete.
Uh-huh.
The truck would actually back into our facility because it's gated and locked up. We keep it that way. And they have a key to it. They back in, 2 or 3 guys have been dumping those cans. And if you go through Newman Park and all the other parks, the 55-gallon barrels are still out there. So somebody's picking those up and dumping them. But yet they can't do it at our park, and they can't do it at PCMA. because I've talked to Derek at PCMA, and they're having to hire two or three strong guys to go out there and pick those cans up and put them in a dumpster. They will dump our dumpsters, but it's just something to have to deal with, you know. So, wanted to see if we could possibly get your help with this and eliminate a lot of problems, because we don't want it at city property. When we're maintaining it and stuff like that and running the league for the city, we don't want to get somebody filing a lawsuit on us for hurting their back or pulling something out of joint or hurting their neck or whatever, you know.
Mayor, I have I think a solution and an answer to Tony's question. And I think when we converted over to the rolling containers, we've got all the auto dumps on all the trucks, is when this problem started.
It is.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, we went to the auto dumps to help with our employees and injuries. And as y'all been told by David Steele, our injuries have gone down. I think probably Mr. Bullock is bringing a good point. And
Yeah,
I
those
think-
things are heavy.
And I think the bigger point.
You actually need some of those in the park.
Well,
because
and I think
they're
that's a
still
good
having to
point.
dump those by hand.
So what, Dylan is somewhere in the crowd, I can't see him, but Dylan and I have been talking about that as well. So what we would like to do is ask the Parks Department to do a count of all of the blue barrels, as I call them, and let us come back, and we may need 200 containers. Now, 200 times, say, $100 a piece is however much money, right? But it's something we don't have in the budget. Now, I will say, Tony, we probably have enough to give you right now. It's in inventory, but if we do a wide sweeping, citywide, and all parks go to this, it should help our employees as well.
So
And it
going
makes sense.
to the roller dumpsters in the park?
Yeah,
And they'll
Yeah,
look a lot
we
better,
we
too.
have two roller small dumpsters that we keep inside the park. But, you know, when we have a tournament, we kind of roll them out the edge of the park to kind of get everything away from people walking in and out of the gate at Newman. So, you know, it's just, and we usually try to get those back in when the tournament's over with. We can push them back in by hand or take our tractor and push them back in or whatever, you know, with the big dumpsters itself. But just like this week, they got a national tournament in Evansville, and they're at Newman, they're at Newburgh, Deaconess Sports Park, and they're also running Jack Fisher this year. They're about 200 teams from 10U to 18U. So we were scheduled to play today from 8 to 8 today and 8 tomorrow. So, but of course the rain got us. So
Tony, if those are supplied to you guys, are you going to be able to have them out so they can get to them? You going to roll them out whenever, what day they pick up?
well, see, sometimes they picked up on Mondays last year. Sometimes it was Wednesdays, maybe twice a week, wasn't it, Todd? And you know, we always try to. Being they're on wheels, it can be a lot easier because we used to have to put them on those round black barrels that PB&S Chemical or Rentag now, they donated all those barrels to us. And
So you're going to have a specific date? that
yes,
they're gonna
and we
do
can
it.
work that out with Dave.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so
So, Tony, the other thing, thinking of open trash receptacles, typically you got flies, rodents, cats, dogs,
you got it
whatever.
now. You got birds every day that's out there picking trash up and carrying it all over the field. We got geese, ducks, everything else in there.
So the question, do you think these canned tops should be modified to allow people to freely throw trash in them? Or do you want them to open the lid and throw it in?
I'd rather have the lid like it is. I wouldn't want to modify
Okay.
it. Just let them open it up, put it in there.
I would say though,
Yeah.
if we're going to add any kind of modification to it at all, if they have a stopper that they can put on the wheels, being that these might be in open fields and subject to wind if they're empty.
See,
Um,
every place we set these is
Yeah.
either on concrete or a flat grassy area, and they're not too far from a concrete. You know, maybe 10 foot at the most from concrete.
Gotcha.
All right.
We'll get with you,
Good deal.
Tony, this week.
Yeah, because
Get
I mean,
some-
it's important.
Is
You
your
got
tournament,
bees around and flies and everything else, you know.
is
And
your
a big
tour-
windstorm comes along, and then you got a real big mess.
Is the tournament running through Sunday?
Actually, it may run through Thursday now. We're
This
usually
Thursday.
running 4 days, but they cut us a day this year, so.
Okay. Well, we'll get with you.
Okay, and then one other thing while we're here. I think we brought it up to you a year or so ago about changing our lights over. Actually, you brought it up to me about, because we still got the 1,500 watt metal halide lights, and that's sucking the energy. So, you said something about you were looking into or what have you about changing them to LEDs and possibly the poles, because that park was put in there in 2000. 1999, 2000, so we're pushing 25 years, so.
So what I like to respond to the commission is I'm going to ask Hempel to do a pole assessment. Typically, most light poles do not last longer than 25 years. Much like we've discussed at Parkville, we have fields up there that the poles are in bad shape. We may need to look at a capital expenditure in the upcoming year to begin replacing not only the poles but the lights too. And it may be something that, as y'all are aware, all our energy consumption is provided in kind by HMP&L. So there may be an incentive on both parties' part to get these lights changed out. Tony, one thing, and Dylan, are you back there somewhere? The new sports complex lights, are they, I would assume they're all LEDs.
Yeah.
So what we would probably do, Tony, we talked to Clay Bolin about Park Field. We'll probably have a lighting consultant come in and look at it. And
I think you already had someone come out there. I met someone out there last year before last. They did a study on how much power they were pulling and what have you. So,
yeah, have you ever heard of Musco?
Musco Lighting.
Everybody,
That was in the original
yeah,
plans for Newman before it got cut.
yeah.
So,
Well, the expense.
yeah, the expense back then was a
So
lot cheaper than what it is now, but
Dylan, we'll put that on our radar list.
yeah.
To when they come in to look at Park Field again.
Exactly what I was thinking.
All right.
All right. Thank you for your time. I
Tony,
appreciate
it's
it.
good seeing you, Tony.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hey, thank you all very much for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anyone else need to address us on anything that is not on the agenda? All right. Oh, sure. Yeah, please come on up.
Hi there. My name is Tom Lovett. I'm with Grad over in Owensboro. I'm going to keep this very short. I thought I was on the agenda for today, and apparently I'm not. The reason I was here was I was under the impression that you guys would be adopting the Grad Title VI plan. You guys will be adopting a Title VI plan. You may be doing your own, or you may be adopting ours. That's what I was here for. If anybody has any questions about this Title VI, you may have heard this. Some of the commissioners may have heard this. You may not. If you have any questions, I'm here. I can answer them. And if not, I'll go sit down and let y'all go about your business.
Buzzy, do you have any questions?
Yeah, let me tell you what's driving this. As y'all are aware, we're part of the MPO for the time being. We will soon be leaving the MPO. But part of the transportation cabinet's requirement is Title VI, in which you got notification we need to do something. The question is, Grad has offered to help, as well as we've been getting some assistance from the MPO.
Well,
And
the MPO and I have talked about, and we talked with you guys,
Yeah.
and they're bowing out. They recommended you guys adopt the Grad plan.
okay,
Because ours is complete and has been approved and is ready to go. You guys could adopt it at
was
your
it
next meeting.
adopted by KYTC?
Yes, it's been accepted by KYTC, yeah. That was the, FHWA says you guys have to have one. You don't have to draft your own, which takes time and a lot of effort. You can just adopt the Grad one because Grad has been approved by KYTC. So,
We'll get back with you.
Yeah, just please, y'all wanna
Be
follow-
honest with you, it was on the front burner last week, and it got moved to the back burner.
I understand.
But thank you for coming today and
Yeah.
bringing it to our attention.
can I have my business card?
Sure.
If anybody would like one, if you have any questions between now and then, please contact me. Mr. Drew.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Rob.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else, just gentlemen. if you have any questions between now and then about the process or Title VI itself, please contact me, and I would be happy to talk to you. All right?
Tom, can you remind us what the deadline is to have this thing adopted?
The deadline technically was June 30th,
Mhm.
but they set that deadline like mid-June, and fully aware that they didn't think people would make it. There were 7 LPAs in the LPA is a local public authority, cities, counties, and the Owensboro Riverport. There were 7 total. Henderson City, Henderson County, Davis County, Union County, Hartford, and the Riverport. I think that's 7, if I may miss somebody. But they are getting Federal Highway Administration money, so you have to do this. They said they wanted it done by June 30th, but as long as you're making a good faith effort, there's some training that's going to need to be involved for the people who are actually handling the projects, like road projects, so it would be like your road department here in the city. As long as you're making an effort towards getting that training done and getting a Title VI plan approved, then they're going to work with you. So they said, even if you're not getting there, quickly, they're not going to withdraw funding for this. So you're not going to lose your money, but you do need to approve some sort of Title VI plan. As long as you're moving forward, they're going to be okay with you.
Well, thank you, and we'll make sure it's on the next agenda.
Okay, that's
for sure.
fine.
We appreciate you
And
coming.
I'll be in touch with
Well,
you guys.
it
Yes,
won't
sir.
be- Let me say this, it won't be that easy. It's going to take a while to
Hey, Tom.
formulate.
Yes, sir.
The training is extensive.
Yeah. But it sounds
my
like we
email.
can just have a
Email that
resolution
to
to
me.
adopt the grad version of Title VI, which that part would be pretty easy. So
Right.
we'll
And the
take a look at
training-
it and get it on as quickly as we
The
can.
training is about a 45-minute video. It's like a PowerPoint presentation. You have to log in, and it takes about 45 minutes to go through the presentation.
Gotcha.
Okay?
All right.
Well, thank you all for working with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have a consent agenda.
Oh, my. Okay. Consent agenda consists of the minutes of the June 4th, 2024 called meeting and the June 11th, 2024 regular meeting. Resolution number 40-24, resolution approving human resources report dated July 9th, 2024. Resolution 41, resolution increasing salary of city manager by 2% effective July 1st, 2024. Resolution number 42-24, resolution approving community development block grant subrecipient agreement with Father Bradley Shelter for Women and Children Incorporated. And municipal order number 61-24, municipal order authorizing purchase of a 2023 John Deere Gator in the amount of $21,301.47 and a John Deere 4044M compact utility tractor in the amount of $48,514.32 for the sports complex from Deere and Company, Cary, North Carolina, by Commonwealth of Kentucky Master Agreement number MA 758 PUNC 2 whole bunch of zeros 691.
All right, before we get a motion, are there any items that any commissioner would like to pull from the agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt,
Aye.
Commissioner Fowles, Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have a first reading of an ordinance closing unimproved public right-of-way.
Ordinance number 33-24, ordinance closing public right-of-way located between 8th and 7th Streets and between Elm and Green Streets. An ordinance closing unimproved public right-of-way, which is approximately 109 total square feet, located in the city of Henderson and between 8th and 7th Streets and between Elm and Green Streets.
A motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any comments, questions, or suggestions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt,
Aye.
Commissioner Fowles, Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have a municipal order awarding a bid for sale of surplus property.
Municipal order number 62-24, municipal order authorizing award of sale of surplus property located at 601 West Main Street, parcel ID number 1345 to Scott McCord, Henderson, Kentucky, in the amount of $2,000 and authorizing the mayor to execute documents necessary to complete sale.
We have a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments, questions, suggestions?
I'll make a comment.
Yes, sir.
that, we had put this out for sale for the second time. First time, we did not receive any bids. Second time, we did receive a bid, a sole bid from Mr. McCord. However, it didn't meet our minimum limit set for the sale of that property. So Dawn Wynn in finance negotiated the $2,000 settlement, which is probably a fair price for a postage stamp lot that's currently on West Main Street.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt,
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles, Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have a municipal order approving an agreement with fiscal court.
Municipal order number 63-24, municipal order approving agreement between the City of Henderson and Henderson County Fiscal Court relating to the repair of Dana Drive and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
We have a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
We have a second? Buzzy, you want to explain a little bit more about this one also?
Yes, we, through Henderson Economic Development, Dana Corporation went to them with a concern about the condition of Dana Drive. And the history behind Dana Drive, it used to be Kentucky Highway 136. When the Highway 425 was constructed 20-some years ago, that portion of Kentucky Highway 136 was given to the county. So it was a county road. The interesting thing is, it's a county road that leads to city limits on both ends. So the judge, along with Whitney Risley, met with several of us to discuss what to do about the condition of the road. And the judge requested that we split the cost of repairing the road and getting it back to a condition that's acceptable. And we felt like with our strong partnership, not only with the county, but also with our industrial base, that we proceed forward with this agreement. Part of this agreement, once the improvements are made, we are going to annex the road into the city limits, okay? And that will come later when we have the necessary surveying information to annex it in. It's, again, it's to support our local industry with their operations.
And just to add to that just a bit, Dana itself is in the city limits.
Yes.
So we actually have quite a bit of benefit from them on a yearly basis in the form of tax receipts. And so this road is primarily there to service Dana, which is in the city. And so the 50-50 arrangement with the county and then adopting that into our inventory for future road repairs, we felt like coming out of that meeting, it was probably the right thing to do. And that's why it's on the agenda. So, did we take a motion already? We did a motion? Yes, we got a motion and a second. Are there any other questions or comments or suggestions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt,
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles, Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have on City Manager's Report.
Okay, pursuant to our last meeting, we had a open discussion of how our process works in addressing properties under development. And I think we all remember that, and it was suggested at that time that we ask a current developer who's working in Henderson is the one that brought it to our attention and asked if the addresses could be added at a specific time rather than the way we do it currently. So today we have with us both Manuel Ball and Bill Jago of Jago Development in the crowd, and I will ask Manuel to come to the podium and sort of answer any questions y'all may have while you're asking for this request, because it is out of the norm in the way we do things. We also have Brian Bishop and Jennifer Marks from the Planning Commission who are in charge of addressing in the community, and they're available to answer any questions. So Manuel, we'll turn it over to you.
Sure.
So you can explain to them why you're asking this of us.
Sure. Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity. I'm Manuel Ball with Jago Homes. I manage all of our land development for Jago Homes, so I'm kind of on the front end of things. Kind of as we came to the Henderson market, one of the biggest goals for economic development was to bring housing to supply to Henderson, which we feel like we've made a great investment in the community and have done that. We're really happy to be back in Henderson. In addition to that, we've just recently had a pre-sales event for Bentley Point. And through that pre-sales event, we get things moving a little bit ahead of the ball from what we used to, instead of waiting until we have a model in place, kind of generate some interest, which there's a lot of interest in Henderson. So that was a great thing. We feel like that event was highly successful. We have 16 customers that are going to move forward with building. In addition to that, we're going to build 11 market homes and 1 model home in the community. So that's kind of where we are right now. I'm sure everybody here is aware that in the recent past, there's been some ordinance changes to allow for building permits and permits to be processed off of the preliminary plat instead of the final plat like it had been in the past, which is very business friendly. Very, very, very business friendly. It's a very progressive way of thinking. So we were very happy to see that, and really that was one of the items that kind of pushed us into this Henderson market, was being able to do that. What that allows for us to do is to kind of jumpstart our process before all the land development's completed and shift everything forward probably 90 to 120 days in that process. So in doing that, we were also under the understanding that we would be able to move forward with building permits, which I believe we can with the building permit. However, we're running into some roadblocks with an ordinance, since addresses can't actually be assigned until after the final plat. We're really hitting some roadblocks is really what it amounts to. So kind of one of the first roadblocks that we've hit right off the bat is with the utilities. So when we come through and we actually send out a permit package for an individual house, we do a building permit, we do an HVAC permit, we do an electrical permit, we go ahead and order electrical meters and sewer taps and water meters. So we kind of do it all at one time because our process moves so quickly. So we're about a 90-day build on a house. So since that, once we get that building permit, within the first couple of weeks, we have that building framed, and we're ready for all those other items. So that was kind of the first roadblock we hit. Probably the most significant roadblock with not having addresses is financing. So when a customer comes into us and they actually want to build a house with us, they can go through the pre-approval process, but that's as far as they can go with their lender. They can't go any further with their lender because the lender has to have a physical address in order to move forward. And that also affects rate locks and things like that. So they, whatever the rate is today, if they want to move forward with us, if they don't have that physical address, they can't actually lock that rate in. So that really negatively impacts the resident in the community. Kind of back to the utility permits, it's my understanding that all of the different utilities, Henderson Water Utility, Hempel, everyone currently operates off of addresses, not lot numbers. So in the event that we move forward with lot numbers now, it creates a lot of rework and it's just a lot of confusion is what it would create if we move forward with lot numbers instead of addresses. The tax revenue is another important thing to mention here. Since we're able to expedite this process, we actually get closings in the community sooner, so we have homeowners in sooner. And in addition to that, we would have a whole lot more payroll tax sooner. It shifts all of that forward. post office is another issue that we have. I don't know if everyone is aware here or not, but all new communities are required to do a cluster mailbox unit. So they've gone away with individual mailboxes at each house. There's a cluster mailbox unit that actually has, in this particular case, it'll be, I believe it's 312 home sites. I may be wrong, it may be 292. Regardless, it'll have all of them in one location so that the mail carrier can be more productive and more efficient. So they come in and they hit one location. It also reduces accidents and things like that for them as well. But having those addresses up front really makes the planning process smoother on that. What we really like to do is to engrave all of those boxes with the addresses. And if we're waiting until that final plat stage, that shifts that on down the road a little bit and makes it a little bit more difficult from that perspective. Another issue that we have with not having the addresses is internet access. Some of our providers, AT&T is really the big one. They will not even start the process for the design of the community without the addresses. I hope we don't have any AT&T guys here currently, but they're kind of slow to begin with. So what happens is that pushes them further down the line. So then once we actually start construction, it's not uncommon in an area where they can't do that. It's not uncommon for them to come in after driveways have been placed, sod's been placed, and try to place their facilities. So that causes problems, and I'm sure everybody knows here that even in addition to those problems, fiber and internet are crucial. It's kind of like running water in a house anymore. Nobody wants to live in a house without internet capabilities. It also causes some problems for us from a marketing perspective, and I'm gonna have to look at my notes a little bit more now because I'm not the marketing guy. So on the verification process, you have to have a physical address for Google and other directories to actually put you in their system. So there's a verification process that there is a true physical address instead of coming through and they're being fake businesses. That's kind of part of it. The local search visibility. The physical address helps improve the visibility on Google Maps. So once you have that physical address, people can search the community easier. They can find it easier, and that kind of goes into all of the marketing analytics as well. And then listings and directories. So many business directories and listings require physical addresses to complete their profile. So all of those things, and those are things that I don't typically think of, but those are just kind of added things on top of some of the other problems that we're having. So it negatively impacts our marketing as well. So I think I think the whole goal, or at least my understanding of the whole goal of being able to get a permit off of a preliminary plat was to solve some of these problems and shift this forward to be a very progressive community, so that it didn't slow down the system at all, so that the homes could be built quicker in your community. And unfortunately, what's happened, and we didn't realize it until very late in the game, but unfortunately, what's happened is the current ordinance not allowing addresses until after the final plat is kind of handicapped you some, is really what it's amounted to. So I say handicapped you, maybe it's not handicapped you, it's definitely handicapped us as the builder. So you're kind of putting one foot forward, enabling us to go ahead and do the building permit, which Steve and his group has been able to work with us. I think that they will allow a building permit. However, what happens is we get to that framing stage within the first couple of weeks, and then we're kind of back at a standstill again without having those addresses and being able to get water meters and electrical meters and some of those other things. So we have seen this successfully done in the Owensboro market. Owensboro does build off of a preliminary plat very successfully, and they don't necessarily have any issues with their addresses. I'm kind of in a strange scenario. I worked for Jago for about 8.5 years, left and went and managed the building department for 2.5 years. So I managed the building and zoning ordinance for 2.5 years. We didn't have any issues with that while I was there then, and I actually am on our planning and zoning in the Owensboro market as well. So that it's not something that the addresses have not caused any issues in the Owensboro market, and it's been successfully done there. So I guess that's all I've got. I just here to answer any questions, and we'd ask for you guys to at least consider this.
Well, thank you so much for coming today, because we had part of this discussion last week, but we didn't want to make a decision until after we heard from you and had a chance to digest the information that we were given. Does anybody have any specific questions for Manuel?
Just wanting a comment, really. So, you think the reason this has never come up before is because most of our builders don't finance themselves?
Well, I think what it is they, well, and I could be wrong. I would assume in the past, since it's so new, most people are waiting until the final plat, and then they actually have addresses. So that kind of solves that problem in going ahead and moving forward with the final plat. What it does for us is it kind of handicaps us some, because in our current stage right now, if you were to go out and look at the community, asphalt's down, you'll see fire hydrants in, sanitary sewers completed. So most of the things to the naked eye, it looks like that development is actually completed. However, we're still working on testing on the water line. We haven't gone through all of the final approval processes with each individual utility. We're still working on some as-built information. So everything is in and everything is done, but we're still kind of trying to finalize some things. And if we were to have addresses, in reality, we probably could have started building about 45 days ago.
So you were talking about Owensboro having a similar regulation of what you're asking us. What about, does Evansville have the same thing?
Evansville does not. Evansville,
And
it's similar to your old process where you have to have the final plat before you get addresses.
In Newburgh, do they have that?
They do not.
So what have you noticed, aside from getting out the gate, what have you noticed have been the differences in developing, and because you all do a lot of development in Evansville and Owensboro, or
Sure.
Evansville and Newburgh, what's been the difference in developing in Evansville and Newburgh versus Owensboro?
Well, Owensboro is just much more business friendly to develop in, just to be quite honest. I mean, it's much easier to develop. It's, from an address standpoint and final plat, it really shifts that process forward. Unfortunately, we've worked in other communities like the Louisville market, which is extremely difficult to build in, and we've actually since pulled out of that Louisville market. But there definitely are other areas that work more similarly to what you have in the past. But this passing the ordinance, being able to build off a preliminary plat it's very progressive, and it is very business friendly, just to be honest.
Have you run into any issues with address sequencing after the fact, or any of those things that might crop up from having the addresses assigned earlier than later in the process?
So we have not, and I don't know if it's, there may have been some scenarios over the years where an address has to change. It's my understanding that in the event that an address has to change, what has happened is they've taken that specific block, so whatever those block numbers are, and they've kind of divided them out. So maybe those block numbers, maybe it goes 2010, 2020, 2030, and what happens in the event that something does change, there's still room to make a change in the address itself. So that's actually in talking with Melissa Evans in the Owensboro market, who actually assigns all of the addresses there. So they do not experience issues with that.
So you're saying they give more number space in between the houses when they assign the addresses, just in case you have to move the numbers around?
It's my understanding that in the event that numbers need to be shifted for any reason, which in this particular case, in our community, we're not making any changes. All of the infrastructure's in. We're not changing any lot lines at this point in time, for sure. However, in the event that there are changes, which I don't think happens very frequently in the Owensboro market, it hasn't in my experience when I was there and with what we currently do. However, yes, there's kind of that fail-safe in there, so that additional addresses could be created or could be taken away as far as that goes. So yeah, that's kind of that was my understanding in talking with Melissa.
Quick question, Daniel. At what point in your development will you go from a preliminary plat to a final plat? What drives that?
The infrastructure drives it. So as soon as the infrastructure is completed, what we try to do is we try to have all of the infrastructure completed prior to posting a surety, prior to posting a bond for the final plat. So in this particular case, all of our roadways are completed, all of our storm sewers, water lines, sanitary sewers, everything is completed and in place, and we go through the whole process of testing everything out, as well as doing all the as-built and getting all the approvals so that we can have a zero letter of credit balance, with the exception of the surface asphalt and the sidewalks. So what we like to do is have everything completed and approved before we actually final plat.
So understand, they were given a choice, either build it or bond it, and they chose to build it, right?
That's correct.
So,
We
do we have a tornado?
a tornado warning
Warning.
for here. Yeah.
So we probably, folks, I don't know where we stand right now with this warning, but we're not in a good place in this building. Do y'all have any quick questions of Manuel? What's it say?
It's for southern Henderson County.
So where's it going?
So I'm gonna go to the south.
Is it going to Owensboro? Can you keep an eye on it?
Yeah, real quick.
Guys, if we say get up, go to the basement, that's what we mean, okay? Just take the stairwells, do not take the elevator. And if we evacuate everybody, we would ask go to the basement, do not leave the building.
So we'll continue the meeting until such time as we're told that we need to
Travis,
do that.
you're responsible to monitor.
So I think Commissioner Pruitt has a
Real
question
quick,
for you.
I try to think about what was the negatives, the positives, why you needed it so early, and I couldn't come up with any negatives. But I want to ask Brian, is there anything that we're missing that would throw some stuff off if we gave it the addresses early?
Commissioner Pruitt, that's kind of hard to say because Manuel talked about a lot of stuff.
Right.
I think one thing that Buzzy brought up that's real important is the surety, the bonding, with the bonding or building. So could you be a little more specific? Because I was writing
Well,
notes.
if we
so
gave it
there's-
to them early, how does that affect financing with them? Say like if a person was getting this house built, does that, given their address early, does that help them get the financing quicker?
I can't really speak to that, but from a financing and property transfer standpoint, they can't transfer that property until there's a final plat because you're not transferring a lot that exists at that point. I think the biggest issue that we would probably have would be with 911. We're addressing lots on streets that don't exist yet legally because they're not accepted through the
Need to
platting
go.
process.
Okay. We're going to take a recess until further notice. Good? All right, we're going to pick up where we left off. I think Brian was finishing answering a question.
Yeah,
Yes.
good.
If I remember correctly, the question was who would be affected the most negatively?
Well, I was saying, what would it hurt if we let them do it from the start and still at the end of the process?
Well, the quick version is that 911 is probably your most likely because you're addressing lots that don't exist on roads that don't exist. Those are both accepted through the final plat process.
Okay, but who would call in a 911 for a plot? When we look at who might would call in, say, hey, 911, if there's nothing exists.
So when we looked at the building permit policy that
Right.
Manuel referred to, it was a policy, not a ordinance. So what we did is, that was part of the reason why we did it the way we did, so that if there was a 911 call, say a carpenter or an electrician who's out there working, 911, fire, whoever needs to get there, ambulance has a pathway to get there. So there was a standard that we all decided upon for public safety. So it really goes back to the public safety aspect of it, is from my opinion.
Right, but we can change that, that's no big deal.
Which part, right, I'm sorry?
Just changing the policy, the way it works.
The building permit policy? Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
But, I have a question about the 911 stuff. So, if I have built if I have a house that's being built,
okay,
and I go out and check my property,
okay,
and I trip and fall and break my leg,
okay.
if I got my cell phone on me,
Mhm.
and I have an address because it was included in the preliminary, wouldn't that be more exact to tell 911 than I'm at a development with no address?
Lot
So-
12.
You're talking about in the current system or the proposed system?
Well, what they're asking, that's what I'm just asking. I don't know how that would work, but it seems like it would be another identifier that 911 could use to
Possibly,
locate
but
you.
Manuel also he brought up the point about the cluster boxes.
Uh-huh.
And the houses under construction wouldn't have address numbers on them, so where are they going? They don't have an address number to go to.
But I think, Steve, all residential have to have a address posted before certificate of occupancy is granted. Now, the question back to Jago would be, do y'all put up something in front of a house that's under construction that if I'm delivering a hot water tank, it goes to 908 Easy Street?
Yes, so there would be something posted in front of the house, either with a lot number or an address, depending on the scenario. So ideally, we could put both as far as that goes, but yes, we would post something out either on the house or in front of the house with that information.
Okay. Jennifer, I think you wanted
Yeah,
to
really
say
quickly,
something.
so you guys will remember that we discussed the road index as well as MSAG and things like that. So even if there was an emergency and you were to call 911, because we don't have a final plat and we don't have an accepted road, that address doesn't exist in their system. So you could give 911 your address of 312 Easy Street, but
Yeah.
that doesn't exist yet.
So I guess my logical question would be, it wouldn't hinder 911 either, right? So you're saying it wouldn't be as much help as what we might think?
Yeah,
but-
no, it's not gonna
But
provide
by
them a
having the
better
address,
location.
it's not like 911 saying, you got an address, I'm not going to come to you?
Right, so because that road doesn't exist yet, and again, Heather in our office that updates the MSAG and works with 911, because we don't have that final plat, she has not put any of that into the system yet. So it doesn't help in an emergency situation any
Right.
more than, and like Brian mentioned, we did our building permit policy so that they could at least access those locations. So there's a hard surface on the road enough for a emergency vehicle to get down if needed to get where they are.
But I guess my question, I think Brian might be answering it, would it hurt anything? You know, it may not help, but is it going to hurt anything if they have an address? It doesn't seem like to me it would hurt
I think that's hard
anything.
to say, because there's what-if scenarios out there that I can't accurately see.
Yeah,
What I was going to bring up is, Jennifer makes a good point about the roads and lots don't exist. We can't update the parcel layer because PVA owns that. So even if we do this, they're addressing parcels that are not going to be created legally until there's a final plat and a deed transfer.
yeah, thank you. I think Manuel wanted to,
So that's common, and that's the same way it's done in Owensboro. He's exactly right. I don't think any of this stuff is truly updated in the system in Owensboro. The difference is that it's there to start the process. It's specifically for the financing is probably the largest hurdle, the utilities being the second. But if you're a customer and you want to buy one of our houses right now, if you are financing it, you can get a pre-approval and then your process stops. You can't go any further, which means we can't go any further with building. If you have a physical address, you can move that process forward. No one is moving into any of these houses until the final plat has been recorded, and at that time, all this information can go into the PVA layers. It can go to 911. So all of that still works, and the closing of the house works at that point in time because we have a final plat. So it shifts it forward is really what happens.
So how did, in the scenario you mentioned, how do you all move forward right now in terms of the financing part? Because the way you said it almost made me seem like it was an impasse. There'd be no way to move forward without that. How do you all move that forward?
Commissioner, I think that's, not to answer, I think it depends on which community they're in. The only community that this is doing it is Owensboro, because as Manuel said, Evansville, Newburgh do it the way we do.
Right, so I guess that's what I'm asking. For like
Yeah.
Owens, or like Newburgh, Evansville, how do they move forward in the financing process?
Do they have to
We
wait until
don't.
it's final?
Well, I guess that's what I'm
We don't.
asking, right?
We
It
have to
sounds
wait
like
until there's
they
a.
can't move forward, but then you all can't move forward. So how does it ever move forward?
You have to wait until the final plat in those scenarios. And I guess the most significant difference that I can say is those areas are a little bit more difficult to work in. And what they do is they push back their housing supply in doing that. Where Henderson is looking for a housing supply, this shifts it forward some is what really happens.
So when you do it in Evansville or Owensboro, and you have some addressing on your preliminary stuff, do you agree to some terms that lot sizes or stuff like that are not going to change after you're granted the ability to do the addressing?
So they actually address it at the preliminary plat stage is what they do there. We don't necessarily agree to anything, but if there's a substantial change to that process, we have to go back through that process with the planning commission is really what happens. So if we were to eliminate a lot or add a lot or make a substantial change, it would have to go back before the planning commission. And kind of as Brian says, with 911 and PVA, they're not necessarily inputting all that information at that time, so they're not necessarily negatively impacted at that specific time until that final plat has been created. And it's not truly a lot of record in reality. We're not really looking for an address that is a lot of record. We're looking for an address to shift the process forward.
You're looking for an address to attach to a document to allow for financing and other things to move forward, so that the build could be moved up 2 to 3 months ahead of where the schedule would have been to begin with. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would disagree with Manuel a little bit there. I think you are negatively impacted because 911's going to a road and address that doesn't legally exist. They're not going anywhere. And that purpose, they'd be better suited going towards a lat long coordinate or a northeastern.
But now, right now, if they're out there working on a house right now, okay, somebody gets hurt, where are they going?
Good
There's
question.
nothing there.
There's nothing
in
there.
the system now.
Correct.
So what's the difference now? And
Yeah,
It's
I
still-
had the
I
same
mean, it's
question.
Still
Still
not
still-
in the system, is what I'm saying.
I agree with that. but
It's still not in the system,
If
so
somebody
you
gets
don't.
hurt now, it's still not in the system.
Well, but
Correct.
he also
Yeah.
mentioned perhaps you could put a lot number as well as an address maybe on the same identifier. So if the address doesn't help, right, whoever's calling for the police or whatever can say I'm at lot, whatever, and it would direct them right to that point. That would
Well,
be-
and
And you're right.
Right? I mean, wouldn't
Real
that-
quick, guys, we probably need to wrap this up, but real quick, we're gonna need a street name on some of those up there too, right? So if they say.
Well, here,
uh,
I think what Brian and Jennifer are saying is that it's not going to help with 911 because those addresses don't exist.
Right.
And so having them do a bunch of extra work and signage and stuff is still going to lead to an address that doesn't exist. I'm hearing you say that, but what I'm also thinking and believing is that it's not going to hinder our 911 operation whatsoever for them to have preliminary addresses.
No.
So I think we're kind of off track here.
Yeah, I think
I think that, at least from my standpoint, I don't see why we wouldn't offer the option for a developer to have addresses on your preliminary plat, but not force developers to do that, because some of our local developers may not want to do that.
Okay.
You know, and I would be willing to look at something that the planning commission would produce for us to look at. If y'all are, I mean,
I
it
think,
sounds like
like
something
you
that's a
said,
reasonable request.
If there's no identification and you say, I'm out here at subdivision so-and-so, I'm on lot 12, at least they know what subdivision they're gonna try to get to lot 12. But if they say I'm out here on Rodney Boulevard and so-and-so at address 354, I just think it may help a little bit more, because
Yeah.
they know what 350, find Rodney Street
Yeah.
and so I think it's a win, an extra win-win.
Well, what
As
I'm
long as
hearing-
it doesn't negative, that's why I want to say.
I don't see
doesn't negatively affect anything. And
I don't see a
I've
major
looked over this,
downside.
I didn't see where it did.
Yeah, I don't see the major downside is, all right, right now, 90 days, they got a house built. We can expedite that process by 30 days. They get in, we got houses built in 90 days.
Yep.
Now, if they have to wait to get the final plat, it'll be another 30 days, so now we're 120 days out.
Well, Bonnie, that's hypothetical. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, with Manuel and them, they're about to finish section 1. They could submit the final plat right now and have addresses, road in, everything. They're choosing not to do that. That's Jago's opinion. That's Jago's decision to make. But I'm saying they could go have a final plat right now. The Plan Commission's concern is that we go in, we put addresses, everything in, then it changes. And I know Manuel brought up you can do that, but hypothetically, you're changing addresses on people who have already got addresses established at that point. That makes sense?
Makes sense, yes.
So-
Yeah.
But they don't have legal addresses established. They just have addresses established to move forward with the
It
financing
depends on
process.
what stage of the development you're in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not just a static, this is the way it is. So for example, like if Manuel and them were to come in and do the final plat for section 1, then they come back and change it, all those addresses are changed, all that's reordered out. Just something to consider.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can I speak one more time? Sorry.
Yeah.
So I think Brian is right. We have physically chosen not to do the final plat at this point in time, and the goal of not doing the final plat right now is that we want to go in with all of the infrastructure completed that we can have completed, and go in with a zero balance on those items. As it sits right now, if we had addresses, we could have started roughly 30 days ago. We put down blacktop almost 30 days ago now. So we could have started that process then and got things rolling. However, there still are other items that have to be completed. It's testing of the water line. There's some things that you don't typically and can't typically shift forward of that asphalt. So it kind of lags that process a little bit. So I would say right now we're about a week, maybe a week and a half away from having the final plat completely ready and pin set in the field, and we're probably still another. In reality, to go in with the final plat, we're probably still 3 weeks away, is what it amounts to, and that's to move forward with that, assuming that all the approvals move quickly. We could very easily go in today with a specific balance for items that have not been completed, but and I'm not exactly sure how Henderson Water Utility and these other utilities do it, but what we don't want to do is post a large surety for our sanitary sewer, for our water line, and for our storm sewer that are completed and in the field. We don't want to post hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that we've already paid for and that is done.
Can I jump in there? So from the Plan Commission standpoint, we will refer to Bart there, and if Bart says there's no need for bonding, there's no need for bonding in that part. And can I ask a question real quick? Sure. Do you guys have any permits outstanding now for construction?
For Bentley Point?
Yes, for phase 1.
Not to my knowledge.
So-
Do we have any current permits? No.
So, and that's kind of my point before, is we changed the building permit policy to make it speedier to get building permits and stuff, and there's still no building permits at this point. So hypothetically, I guess what I'm suggesting, or you guys take caution, is that we get ourselves ahead of ourselves, and then we're creating arbitrary and capricious standards, because we have a standard for existing neighborhoods that are under construction right now, and then a standard for Jago. just be careful with that, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But if we change that,
Well,
right,
you're
wouldn't that be
not
the
for an
standard for all of them then, right?
I'm
If
sorry.
you change the policy that you're alluding to, then it would be the option for everybody's building, right?
Well-
I mean, it wouldn't be the Jago versus that, it would be, whoever wanted to do it, they could
They
flip
could do it.
switch tomorrow morning and change.
But
what
it
they're doing,
is the
right?
Jago versus the others, because if you refer back to Owensboro standard, they have everybody else, and then they have the Jago standard. They point blank told us that.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
not-
I think what we're looking for is.
Thank you.
No.
Hey,
I think we're good on the discussion. I think we're good. I think we're good.
But everybody's got.
I think there are a couple of things that we can take away, and thank you both, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for coming, and thank you for building in Henderson. We appreciate it. I think there's a couple of things we can take away from the discussion. One is that if you're 3 weeks away from a final plat, then this, whatever we're doing here, is not going to help, because it's not like we're going to be doing something today. But it's a multi-stage development. And so when you get to future stages, we could do something now that would potentially positively impact your next go-round of developing in Henderson, which is something we should consider. And then to echo everybody's, because we were all talking at the same time, we don't want to have two different standards, and we don't want to have all of our builders here have to adhere to what you're doing. And so what we're most interested in looking at is just how can we rework our procedures to provide you the option to do what you would like to do, and other builders to have that same option or the option that we have now. Nothing special or different, just changing our procedures to make it a little bit friendlier for you to do business the way you would like to do, because we don't have a lot of builders who do their own self-financing. We don't have a lot of builders who throw up 20 houses at a time.
But they might want to.
Yeah. And so one thing that I don't want us to do at the city commission level is to discourage you from wanting to do business with us in the future. And to me, I think the most significant negative impact is the potential for rework. And if there's anything that we can do as we're considering altering our procedures to limit the potential for rework in the future in terms of changing addresses and stuff like that, I would want to see that done on the front end too. Because I don't want our people to get into a situation where they're having to go back to the table and renumber everything over and over and over again either. But I think that we're in a good spot. I don't know. I want to poll the commission to see what you all think. Dawn's not here, but I think what we would be doing is she on Zoom? I think what we would be doing is just indicating an interest to send it to the planning commission to rework and take a look at, and then bring it back up to us with suggestions. Is that accurate, Buzzy?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Need a motion for that?
well, we do, yeah, why don't we just do an informed motion? So can I get a motion to, yes?
I move that we take a look at it and send it back to the plan commission so that we can incorporate the option of doing it on the front end or doing it on the back end.
I think that's well worded, sir. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Pruitt?
Aye.
Excuse me. Commissioner Witt?
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor State?
Aye. Thank you all very
Thank you all.
much for the discussion. We
Thanks,
very much
Mike.
appreciate it. All right, next up on the city manager's report, we got a fire station update.
Yeah, Dylan, are you back there?
I don't see Dylan or
That's okay.
Thomas.
You know what? It's been a long meeting.
Yeah,
We had
we-
an interruption. We'll do a fire
We'll
station
do-
update next meeting.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
fine. We do have need for a short executive session with no action. Before we do that, we'll go ahead and clear the commissioner's comments. Commissioner Vowles, do you have anything today?
Nothing today.
Commissioner Pruitt?
No.
Commissioner Witt?
Nothing today.
Commissioner Thomas?
Nothing today.
We have need for executive session, please.
I move this commission go into executive session.
Wait,
only.
We're not
stop.
doing the city attorneys. What,
No.
they have ordinance review.
Oh, we do have an ordinance review. I am so
It-
sorry.
it can
Can
wait.
we put it on next meeting? Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. Please go ahead.
I move the commission go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810 subsection F for discussion that might lead to the discipline or dismissal of an individual employee.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, and we're going to stay in this room, so if everybody could vacate that's not a part of that, please.